gentlemen, welcome back to another week of the Monday morning recap. Technically, right now, it is Sunday evening, and folks, we have hit a new low, and this week's theme is going to be Misery Loves Company. It's going to start off with the Minnesota Vikings going head-to-head with the Atlanta Falcons. The Vikings coming into the game at 1-4. And the Atlanta Falcons 0-5, and coming off of a week where they fired their head coach and general manager, and looked to be a good week to get a good win for the Vikings and go into the bye week and get some folks healthy and that kind of thing. But boy, was I wrong, 120%. So. Vikings won the coin toss, elected to receive, get the ball at about the 25, roughly. And they decided to take a shot downfield. Well, not even downfield, maybe 15, 20 yards downfield. And the first play of the game, Kirk Cousins, I don't know where he was throwing it, who he was throwing it to, interception. And that was pretty much the theme of the game. This one ended up, it was a lot closer than what the score, or a lot worse than what the score indicated. Final score, Falcons 40. They hung a 40 spot. And Vikings 23. Honestly, it wasn't even that close. It was an absolute shellacking. Running down some stats for you. Cousins finished the day 24 of 36 for 346 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. All of the 3 interceptions came in the first half. And don't look at those stats. It was all garbage time stats. We'll get into that in a minute here. Garbage time stats. Cousins played awful. That's all I'm going to say right now. Alexander Mattison had a good chance to kind of solidify himself as one of those backs in the league that can fill in for the first stringer as Dalvin Cook was out, and he went for a measly 10 carries for 26 yards. Vikings couldn't get anything going in the run game. 2.6 yards a carry is not going to cut it in the NFL. Justin Jefferson continues to shine, having a Rookie of the Year type campaign through the first 6 games. He goes for 9 receptions and 166 yards and 2 touchdowns. Really played a really good game and has become kind of the focal point because Adam Thielen is getting double teamed quite a bit. So Justin Jefferson is the lone bright spot in a day that was marred with awfulness and getting harder and harder to put on the purple and gold. But nevertheless, we will fight through. We will persevere. And we will hope that the Vikings do not win another game the rest of this season. That's where I'm at. Thielen did have 3 catches, 51 yards. I'm gonna cover 4 points in this game. Number 1, it is 9:07 on Sunday evening after this destructive loss. I want to know why Mike Zimmer hasn't been fired yet. That's what I would like to know. That he should have been fired. The game got over about 3 o'clock, 3:15. He should have been fired by 4 o'clock. Ziggy Wilf should have seen him coming into the locker room at half, because they were at home today too, which really doesn't make any difference this year because there's no home field advantage. He should have caught him before he went into the locker room and been like, Mike, sorry, get the hell out of my stadium. You are no longer the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. But here we are. Because, and I say this now because I haven't liked Zimmer for a couple of years now. He's so out of touch with today's NFL. I'm sure he would be a fantastic defensive coordinator. Period. That's Mike Zimmer's thing. He'd be a great defensive coordinator where he doesn't have to worry about all the other stuff. He just worries about his defense. He cannot be a head coach. He's far too worried about establishing the run, which a good running game is good to have. But in today's game, the running game is not going to win you a championship. Just not. Look at the Tennessee Titans, best running team in the league. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. You cannot ride a running back to the Super Bowl. You just can't. Defense doesn't even win Super Bowls anymore. You have to throw the ball down the field. The Vikings have two of the best wide receivers in the league, two of the best deep threats in the league in Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Yet we're still throwing 2 and 3 yard check down passes to Chad Beebe, who, when are we going to figure out that that's not going to work? It's a great story. You know, Beebe, his daddy played in the NFL, all of that. It's just not going to work. You have Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Get them the ball. You have Irv Smith and Kyle Rudolph. Those should be your check down guys if you need them to be. Irv Smith could be a wide receiver at this point. Irv Smith has the talent to be one of the better tight ends in the league. He's got George Kittle type talent, but he isn't being utilized because Mike Zimmer would rather run the ball 60-70% of the time instead of throwing the ball down the field. If you look at the Vikings when they are having success on offense, they are throwing the ball down the field. It's simple. And Kirk Cousins, for all he's knocked for, he throws a pretty good deep ball. He showed that a couple times today. But our O-line is a complete disaster. I had high hopes coming into today. Drew Samaya was out. Insert Ezra Cleveland, who actually played fairly well. Dakota Dozier was a big problem today. Riley Reef has been leaky on the left side at that left tackle position. But Brian O'Neill, he's still playing lights out. Garrett Bradbury playing solid. But, you can't expect Ezra Cleveland to come into the game, not playing a snap all year, and now you're starting at right guard, which isn't even his natural position. It was an upgrade, I'll say that, because he didn't have 16 holding calls in the game. He had a couple of blown protections, but that was to be expected. I hope they stick with Ezra Cleveland going forward, and something's got to give there. We've kind of alluded to it before, but I have officially stopped this truck because I need to get up and I need to get off. I need to get off the Kirk Cousins bandwagon. I've been on it since day one. I like Kirk Cousins as a person, but I'm done with him. I'm done. Just completely done. I have officially jumped off the Kirk Cousins bandwagon and am now on Team Nate Stanley for the next 10 weeks. Don't go Sean Mannion. That's just boring. Call up Nate Stanley, the Rook out of Iowa, who grew up just across the river in I can't remember the town. It's over by Eau Claire, but bring him up. Let him play some ball. He can't do any worse than Kirk Cousins. Sure, 24, 36 for 343 and 3. That's a hell of a stat line. Until you realize that all of it was in garbage time. He had like 100 yards at halftime, 3 interceptions. One really wasn't his issue. The offensive line let him get smacked around. But I'm officially off the Kirk Cousins bandwagon. He needs to be. Don't cut him during the season because that's just rude. But bench his ass, bench him, and I wish him all the best in the future. I think he would be he'd be a really good kind of Ryan Fitzgerald type player. he just needs to grow a big beard and be a lot, funnier than what he is. But time, I'm jumping off. I'm done. I am in full tank for Trevor Lawrence mode. I hope the Vikings do not win another game the rest of the season, which are still going to be heavy competition for that number one spot with the Jets and the Texans and all that. But I mean, the Jets, they're a dumpster fire just as much as the Vikings. And it baffles me how the Vikings can play so well, and be 6 inches away from winning that game last week against one of the best teams in the league in the Seattle Seahawks. And then we see what happens today. Just awful. So where do we go from here? The Vikings are now 1-5. They have a bye week coming up. I do, in my heart of hearts, think that Mike Zimmer will be fired this week. If he's not fired this week, he's not getting fired this season. He might be gone at the end of the season, but if they're going to get rid of him, it's going to be this week. Probably tomorrow, honestly. I thought they'd do it tonight, kind of like Atlanta did with Dan Snyder down there. But Snyder, right? Is that who they fired? Atlanta's old head coach. Because you see what happened with Atlanta today. They came out to play, man. They went for a fourth down multiple times. Matt Ryan looked like Matty Ice from back in the day. Julio Jones turned back the hands of time. And the Vikings looked like the Vikings. So where do we go from here? I think we have to fire Mike Zimmer. We have to bench Kirk Cousins, bring up Nate Stanley, let him get some run. I think you tell Danielle Hunter, I don't care if you feel 100% you're shut down for the year. As much as it pains me to say it, I think you trade Harrison Smith while he's still got some value for a decent draft pick or an offensive lineman. Yeah, I think you try to trade Kirk Cousins this year before you release him to try to get something out of that. I'd take a bucket of KFC chicken for him at this point, but that's neither here nor there. But I think you got to try to unload some of those heavy contracts for the big name guys. Now, Adam Thielen, I don't think he's going anywhere. Adam Thielen is a Viking for life. But I think you got to try to unload those contracts. Harrison Smith, Riley Reif, Kirk Cousins. As much as it pains me to say it, Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks, maybe one of those two, and Mike Hughes. Even though he's still on his rookie deal, I think you got to move on from him too, because he's playing like garbage as well. So I think that's where we're headed. I think we're headed completely and utterly into rebuilding mode, much like the Dolphins did a couple of years ago and last year. And I think you really got to hope for one of those top picks in the draft. And if you're going to go all out. I mean, tank 100%, get Trevor Lawrence, a once-in-a-generation quarterback. And like I said, I would be very, very happy with if you could get somebody out of the college ranks, Dabo Swinney. Hey, we're going to draft your boy here, Trevor Lawrence. Why don't you come with him? Venable, who is Dabo Swinney's offensive coordinator, but basically gets paid a head coach's salary. Mike Leach, I'd be cool with him. Not only do I love Mike Leach's personality, but he's a hell of an offensive coach. That's what I want. I want to see some points. Other people might not like that. What I would love to see, which won't happen, because I don't think his coaching style would translate to the NFL. I would love to see PJ Fleck as an NFL head coach. I would love to see it, but I don't think we're gonna get that. So Vikings fall to 1-5. The Atlanta Falcons get their first win of the season. They are now 1-5, and the Vikings are one game out of the bottom of the NFL, just behind the New York Jets. Moving on to the other game of the afternoon, it was America's Game of the Week, posting number 12 versus number 12, two of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't watch a lot of this game. I watched the first quarter, and then I had to go do some stuff. But first quarter, Rodgers is going up and down the field. When I left my house, it was 10-0. Now, where I went was in town here in Rolling Stone, and there's no cell phone service, so I couldn't even check the score. But when I got back, about an hour and a half later, the Buccaneers, it was Packers versus the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers had scored 31 answered points, 31 unanswered points. I don't know if I said that right originally, but from what I've read, from the highlights I've seen, and from what I saw when I got back, watching most of the third quarter, or about half the third quarter and the fourth quarter, the Packers were just simply outclassed today by a much better defense than the Packers have seen all year. Final in this one, the Buccaneers 38, Packers 10. Really an awful game all around for the Packers. And like I said at the beginning of this video, misery loves company. So at least Viking and Packer fans can both go through this week with the heartache and misery of their teams getting absolutely destroyed. Going through a little bit of stats here. Rodgers, 16 of 35 for 160 yards, 2 interceptions, his first 2 interceptions of the year, and 0 touchdowns. And the big one, he was sacked 5 times. He was hit all day long. The offensive line, Bakhtiari was out of the game at at least in the second half. I don't know when he went down or what he went down with, but Ndamukong Suh just plowed through Aaron Rodgers and then started barking in typical Suh attitude, which I don't like. Ndamukong Suh, never have, never will. But then I had seen a video where it said, "Oh, looks like Rodgers spit at him." I'm like, good for him. I don't like Suh. Nobody does. But yeah, Rodgers, not his best day. I still think the Packers are one of the better teams in the NFC. Williams was the leading rusher for the Packers with 4 carries for 34 yards. Aaron Jones really didn't do much today. He was bottled up for a majority of the day. And Davante Adams goes for 6 receptions for 61 yards. But in the end, it was Tom Brady, number 12, outdueling Aaron Rodgers, number 12. And it really wasn't a duel for the most part. The Buccaneers' run game was fantastic today. And the big news out of this one that I think we can all care about is Tyler Johnson, rookie out of the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers, caught a 7-yard touchdown pass from Mr. Tom Brady. It's his first NFL touchdown, folks, and that's pretty exciting. I was pretty pumped when I saw that. I was like, sweet, Tyler Johnson got a touchdown. He's the first Gopher to score a touchdown since probably, I don't know, Eric Decker. And I'm not kidding about that. I think that's probably the last Gopher that scored a touchdown in the NFL was Eric Decker. I don't think any of our defensive guys have done that. But I mean, the Packers, they're a lot better than the Vikings. I think that's the Vikings' next game, actually, is after the bye week. They will go to the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field and face the Packers. Aaron Rodgers should throw for approximately 975 yards and 16 touchdowns and destroy the Vikings. So it's kind of where we're at. It was a pretty miserable Sunday for the upper Midwest. The Bears won today against the Carolina Panthers and Teddy Bridgewater. The Bears are so flippin' boring to watch because it's all defense. And I just don't like Matt Nagy. He's got one of those faces. You ever see somebody that you're like, I have no idea who you are or what you're about or what your personality is, but I want to punch you in the face. Matt Nagy has one of those faces. And so the Bears are actually on top of the division at 5-1, and the Packers are right below them, a half game back at 4-1. But the Lions also won today to improve to, I think, 2-3. So pretty awful sports day today. The big exciting news, the big excitement coming up in the next week that we will cover next Monday on Monday Morning Recap is the Minnesota Golden Gophers, the number 21 ranked Minnesota Golden Gophers go and start their season. They start their season at home for the Little Brown Jug against Michigan and Jim Harbaugh. And actually, College Game Day will be on scene next Saturday for that game. So pretty excited about that, to see what PJ Fleck and the boys can do. I have big expectations for the Gophers this year, which means I will have a big heartbreak as they get oh so close to the Big Ten championship game, only to be beat by Wisconsin or Iowa probably. And Wisconsin will then go to the Big Ten championship game. They'll get their asses handed to them by Ohio State. Then they'll go play in the Rose Bowl or something and get their asses beat by like Oregon or something, because that's what happens with the Badgers. They can't win a big game. But excited for the Gophers to start next weekend. We can focus on them a bit more and focus on the Vikings winning losing the rest of their games to acquire the right to draft Mr. Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson University. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence in purple and gold. That's what our hope is. That is what our dream is. That is what the goal is. So until next week, this has been JR with Monday Morning Recap. We'll see you next week.